All right. Let's go ahead and get everything loaded, and we will go ahead and get started for today. Let me turn on the BGM. And people can let me know as we get started if I need to drop the BGM volume at all. All right, so this is going to be a little bit different format than what I usually do. In fact, I haven't used the chill stream layout in feels like a couple months. Maybe it was more recent, but in general, we haven't done a lot of these, so maybe I'll have to fix that for next year. As I thought it'd be interesting to do sort of like a yearly wrap up and reflection of all things that we've done here on the Twitch channel and on YouTube in the last 12 months. I didn't do this last year primarily because right before the end of the year, my computer died. And I ended up having to take a few weeks off and then come back. And then I came back on Twitch. Hey, Crusher's here. What's up, Crusher? How you doing today? Hope your Friday is going well. And so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of walk through the timeline of what's happened since my journey in streaming is kind of an interesting arc, but also I've only been doing this for a little more than a year in total. And so I didn't prepare anything specific. I figured I'd kind of go off the cuff and kind of just talk about things from a streaming perspective and content creation and kind of look back on the last year. Crutcher says, not much, not too bad, feeling good. Oh, good. We're getting ready to head into the new year. It's hard to believe. Hey, Iconic is here. Iconic says, Raku can't stay at the moment, but hope you have a great wrap-up stream. Look forward to cheering you on in 2023. All right, Iconic. Appreciate you popping in to say hi. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and if I don't talk to you before the end of the year, Happy New Year. I appreciate your support and your constant good vibes all the time. You and everybody else who tunes into these streams. So yeah, keep being awesome. Yeah, I'm happy new pair. I hope I get a new pair in 2023. So it's been an interesting journey. I had to go back and look at my YouTube channel and figure out the timeline because it seems like it's been a long time, but it really hasn't. The first stream I did, in fact, let me go just pull up the thing here. It's be easier for me to reference. The very first stream I ever did, the debut, which was not on Twitch. I think I've probably done the majority of my streaming here since starting the beginning of 2022, but I started on YouTube. And let's see, where is the beginning? There's a lot of videos. The debut was on May 18th. Or at least that's when I put up the archive. So around middle of around middle of May is when I officially started streaming as a VTuber on YouTube. And it was kind of scuffed. You could still see the original debut stuff over on YouTube. If you want to see what the first iteration of my model rigging looked like, then you can go look at some of those old streams from mid 2021 in the spring. The model isn't different. It still looks like it does now, but the way it was animated and rigged was different. The person that I commissioned to create my model and rigging, they did a pretty good job. I wanted to kind of change the way it moves and give a little bit more dynamic movement, and so I had it re-rigged maybe about 5 or so months in. That's why Chibox VA is credited on my Twitter page with doing the most current version that you folks are probably used to. Crusher asked, did your old model have shoes? It was the exact same full model, top to bottom. One thing I did do when I sent the files over to Chibox to do the rigging the second time is I slightly scaled the model down a little bit. The original, proportion-wise, had a little bit longer legs, and so I just kind of shrunk the model just down maybe 10%. You wouldn't even notice. But I had all that done several months in just to, again, make the model seem like it moves more. Get a bit more head movement. And the thing with the feet, the lower body didn't move at all. And so, like you see when I have small Raku mode on, the feet move when I kind of move my body. Crusher asks, have you ever considered giving your model hand control so it can track your hands? I haven't thought about that as far as priorities for the model rigging. One, because I don't have a lot of stuff that I'm doing where my hands are moving around. For video games, again, that's probably the only time it would see my hands. The thing that would cause problems with doing that kind of rigging is whenever I'm beatboxing, and you folks can't see this obviously, you see what my model does, but if I had hand tracking whenever I'm beatboxing, I move my hands around a lot. And it's what they call beatbox hands. And it's kind of like rapper hands when people are on the mic. It's part style, part tempo management. And so in beatboxing, here's a real quick little bit of beatboxing information. You move your hands so that you can kind of keep in time with the beat, and it's supposed to be kind of like a stylistic flair. You don't want to just flail your hands like wildly because it's really visually distracting. So when doing a beat, again, you folks won't see it, but it's more like a tempo and rhythm management type of technique. Everybody does it, some people more than others. But if I had hand tracking because my hands move around so quickly, you would see my model just freak out and start flailing because the camera would not be able to keep up with the movement of the hands and probably interfere with the movement on the facial and mouth tracking too. It already doesn't really like it when I'm beatboxing because VTube Studio maps everything to facial movement. And so if you're doing things like opening your mouth and closing your mouth, it does that well. But if you're doing it really quickly, the tracking doesn't always pick it up. And so it doesn't look one-to-one. And it kind of depends on how it's animated and rigged as well. But mine does an okay job. And so I don't know. I do want to get another model made at some point, but those are not cheap. The whole process can be expensive. And I'd much rather pour that money into content, doing things like the big Lost Kingdom project that's coming out at the beginning of next year. I'd rather do stuff like that than spend it on things like my model right now. But I don't know. I gotta start shopping around and just seeing what's on the market. Crusher asks, is there a Raku lore video or wiki? Funny you ask. There's no wiki. I should probably put something on like the VTuber wiki for English or EN VTubers, like put my own wiki page there. I figure I'm not large enough profile-wise to really justify doing that. But because people ask every once in a while, I should probably consider doing that at some point, just so the information is there. But as far as a lore video, that is something that I would like to do. And I've been doing some rough scripting, and I need to storyboard some ideas. But that kind of got out prioritized by the music projects, which is kind of the way I'd like it. If I had infinite money and time and I could hire a lot of people, then I'd have all these things going at once. But it does get expensive to commission lots of different things at once. And so I would like to do a lore video, sort of like an official video that would be basically an intro to anybody who meets me and is looking at my content. And so that's something I'd like to do, but I don't know when that's going to happen. We'll see if it's in the cards for 2023. I've got some ideas on how to do that and how the format and everything would work. But that one is sort of going to be backburnered, but it is something I've thought about, so I'm glad you mentioned it. And so going back to the timeline of how this all started, from debut in May of 2021, the format on YouTube, again, those archives are all there. I think I definitely had to get used to talking to people via stream, since I've never done this type of streaming format before. But the style and content-wise stuff was pretty similar to what we do now. We had drawing streams, gaming streams, chill streams. I think the tier list started on YouTube, and we had Beatbox Jam streams. The layout for those have largely not changed a whole lot. I've updated my background, sort of changed the way I did my sound a little bit. That was one of the biggest hurdles. But that went on for the good portion of 2021 until my PC died at the end of the year. And I had to make a choice, once I eventually got everything fixed, if I was going to come back to YouTube or potentially jump over to Twitch. And after talking to a bunch of my friends that I met through Wazi primarily, and talking to her as a dedicated streamer and content creator, the general consensus was, you're going to have more community options if you go over to Twitch. And if you're looking at actually monetizing what you do with the affiliate program, the odds of you being able to do that in the short term is much more likely than trying to get that on YouTube. And I've kind of talked at length about how difficult it is for new content creators to get monetization on YouTube. And so that was one of the big decisions. But the main reason was the community focused things, like being able to have emotes, being able to raid people. There was the host option before they took it away. In general, the community options are much better on Twitch, and I really wanted to give all of you folks that tune in more things to be able to do. And so that was the main decision of jumping over and starting from the ground up. But if we look at the timeline, the thing on my stream page now says I have 119 followers. 119 followers in less than a year is astronomically better numbers wise than I thought I would be able to do starting from scratch. And I do owe a lot of that to the Toxicure community. All of you folks that came over from watching Wazi are really cool people, and I appreciate everyone who came over and hung out, and everyone who just found my stuff organically as well. Crusher asks, I was going to ask about the image behind you. Are we in a tavern? Yes, and so this layout and background that we have here for the chill stream is the only one of mine that doesn't have an officially produced image like my other thumbnails for like the jam stream, gaming stream, drawing stream. I probably should look at getting an official chill stream one commissioned in 2023 just so that the style is the same. But the background is from one of my favorite mobile games that I retired from this last year, a mobile RPG gacha game called Epic 7. And it's kind of a turn-based character collecting, squad building RPG, and I played it for many years. I played it for maybe 3, almost 4 years, and spent money on it in the beginning and was free to play for like the last 3. And the main splash screen when you open the game up is this sort of tavern with some NPCs in the background, and your assigned characters are normally sitting around the central table that's right here, right to the left of my head. And I was able to find a blank version just so I wouldn't have random characters sitting around it. But it's a really kind of cool, cozy look. And that's why I decided to use it for my background on the chill streams. And yes, there's a cat. If I move out of the way a little bit, one of the characters you can get is a cat NPC that sits around the table too. Crusher says, I've heard of Epic 7. Isn't it based on an anime? I don't think it's not based on a standing anime. It's made by I don't remember the company. They've done other RPG type stuff, but it's not based on an existing property, but they crossed over and did collaborations with a lot of things, a lot of anime series and whatnot. It's a Korean-based produced game. Really heavily leans on the anime art style, but it's Korean-based. And that's a really cool story. There's a lot of content there. And it's not really super aggressive with pay-to-win microtransaction type stuff. In fact, there's not a lot of key mechanics to Epic 7 that require you to buy stuff. If you really want to get in the competitive PvP side, then maybe. But considering I played it for at least 2 to 3 years without spending anything on it, means you don't really need to shell out cash for it. Crusher says, let me know if I'm being annoying. Started a new med today and it's getting settled in my system. No, you're good, Crusher. You always ask really good questions. And, that's what these chill streams are for. It's for a chance to just talk about stuff. And to chat about whatever, in addition to whatever I'm talking about. So, no, you can ask as many questions as you want about anything. It doesn't need to necessarily be on content creation. Feel free. I try and be as hands-off on regulating chat topics as possible. As long as it's nothing controversial or anything like that, which you folks don't have any issues with. I wouldn't worry about it. That's rare in this day and age. Yeah, as far as gacha-based games go, that's one thing that kept me playing Epic 7 for so long. But being able to keep up with the content, I just was falling further and further behind. And I wasn't really spending a lot of time on the game, just logging in, doing the dailies, and that was about it. And so I hung it up. I could always go back to it at some point. If I ever do a post-mortem gacha game stream content, which I talked about doing before, it's just a little bit logistically difficult to do since I'd have to move a bunch of accounts from mobile to BlueStacks and then, change all the account information so I don't dox myself. But I had this idea to log into old gacha game accounts that I used to run and see where I left all the accounts, how long I played, how much currency or whatever I built up, since I tend to follow an arc, and I've never talked about this, but it's probably an interesting data point since a lot of people play mobile games. For gacha-based ones, I usually follow an arc of spending a bit on them in the beginning, and then I get to a point where I can play through the game and, purchase characters or whatnot, do whatever I need to do without spending anything on the game. And that's played out in every single game I've ever picked up. But the curve to get from start to eventually being able to be free to play and do whatever I want in the game without spending money, how steep that curve is depends on how the game is set up. And so the life cycle generally goes play game, spend money, and I've never spent a ton of money on gacha games, and then taper off until I get to a point where I can afford whatever I want just by playing the game. And then when I don't play it as much anymore, then I retire from the game. A good example, I know it's been a running meme on Wazzy's channel, but I do play Raid. I've been playing it for less than a year now, and I haven't spent anything on the game probably in half a year almost. I did in the beginning a little bit, but I'm already at the point in Raid where I don't need to buy anything. I can just play the game and save up currency to roll characters or whatnot whenever I want. And I do still enjoy it, but eventually, I don't know if it'll be in a year, 2 years, or whatnot, I'll get to the point where I'm not getting anything out of it and I'll drop the game. But interestingly enough, data point wise, on the topic of mobile games, I've usually rotated between having like 2 or 3 that I'm playing on a phone. I play Raid on my PC because I can run multiple accounts just using the PC client and BlueStacks. But normally on my phone, I'll have 2 to 3 mobile games. They're not always gacha games. I played a couple of the clicker ones. Played Tap Titans 2 for like 4 years. But eventually, if they drop off, I'll replace them with other ones. But right now, the only game I'm playing...
Money on my mother, mine. Cop 5 haircuts at the same time. White gold pants, jet ski made of wine. Foie gras bust of Albert Einstein, get money.
Hey, Sour Lad resubscribed. What's up, Sour Lad? Sour says, hello, B-Man. Happy late Christmas and early New Year. Oh, thanks, Sour Lad. Appreciate you jumping on. I hope you've been enjoying the holidays and getting some time off. I'd like everyone to acknowledge Best Mod. Sour Lad has worked hard for all of us between streams here and the Toxicure affiliated crew. Sour Lad says, sleepy and you guys? Oh yeah, I'll mention this now on my stream, and I have no problem bringing it up in the future. And Crusher, feel free to add whatever, since it's kind of related to you. Crusher prefers not to go by her name on stream. I've seen it mentioned a couple times, and I'll try and call it out if I see it without making a big deal about it. But just call her Crusher. On Discord and whatnot, I think it's probably okay. Crusher, set the rules just so everyone knows. But yeah, I've seen that come up a couple times. So just for the sake of not doxing people. There's not a lot of us here, so I'm not terribly worried about it. I'm just letting you know. For Sour, I did mention it to Snake because I saw it come up yesterday. So again, I'll try not to make a big deal about it. But also Crusher, since again this is your prerogative, not mine. Like, that's not my place to say one or another. Feel free to tell people in chat. You're perfectly 100% justified in just politely asking people to call you Crusher whenever we're on stream. That's perfectly fine. Again, I don't want to make a big deal about it, especially if there's a lot of us here and we're all just chatting about whatever. But since I've seen it come up a couple times, I figured I'd mention it. So you guys are all good. So before you jumped on, Sour Lad, what we're doing in this wrap up is basically just looking back on everything that's happened. Everything that's happened in the last year. From the start of things on YouTube and looking specifically at Twitch, we're looking back on what's changed, what things have happened, and what we've accomplished. I say we as a general community between me and all of the Space Bees. And so the move to Twitch was interesting. Again, I just had to adjust to being in a different spot, but immediately the environment was more conducive to just creating a good, comfy place to hang out. And I hit affiliate, I think within the first month, which was bananas. I didn't think that would happen. I think it might have been by February, I had the eligibility to be able to enable emotes and bits and subs and all that other stuff. To me, the community related things was the most important. Channel points, emotes, all the redeem stuff. That was a priority. I didn't really care too much about the bits or the subs. But again, I think a lot of people came over from the Toxic Secure community because I'm pretty active over there. You see me show up on Wazzy's streams every once in a while, and she likes to make fun of me. That's fine. I'm actually going to be jumping on hers on Monday to make sure she doesn't have a heart attack with the spooky game, so you folks can look forward to that. But once we moved over to Twitch, we sort of adjusted the format, but nothing really changed. The people who came over from YouTube didn't see a big difference other than the platform. Sarah says, I remember when you did the Pokemon Uranium streams. Yeah, to answer your questions, Crusher, Pokemon Uranium is a fan-made Pokemon game, and it's pretty interesting. I never did finish it because we hit a bit of a wall, because that game is very difficult. Unlike a lot of the other old school Pokemon games, which are pretty easy. Admittedly, you can roll through them pretty decently as long as you level. Uranium is hard. It's called Uranium because it takes place in kind of like a post-nuclear apocalypse situation in a Pokemon. But the new mechanic was they added a radioactive type. And it's a new Pokemon type that interacts with all the other ones differently and whatnot. And it was good, but again, we hit kind of a wall. And I try to finish all the games I start, but some of the RPGs I've started have hit kind of a stall, which is why you just don't see them anymore. Sarlat said when the Pokemon Wazzy evolved. That was pretty funny. Let's see. Let me see if I could pull up a video I made. So what Sarlat's talking about is I named a Pokemon I got early in the game. It was a poison type one after Wazzy because I thought it was funny. And then it evolved into something even funnier. Is that the who's the Pokemon? That Pokemon? Here, let me look. Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, check out the video Sarlat linked. So the Pokemon that quote-unquote Wazzy evolved into is the one that's in that joke video I made. And she was really mad because the first one was kind of like a little like cute flying purple creature thing, and it turns into like a big boar creature. It's very different. And so it was such a funny running gag that I made that who's that Pokemon video. But yeah, to answer the other question about the new type, there was the radioactive types behaved a little bit different. Like you couldn't control them normally, at least where I was in the game, and they had different weaknesses. It added a new type to the chart, and so they interacted differently with all the other types. And it's an interesting idea. So different existing Pokemon got a new radioactive version. There's a whole slew of new ones added just in general to the game. And it was interesting. I don't know. I still have the files for that playthrough, but I felt like it was dragging a little bit. I think that and Nocturne are the only long plays I haven't actually finished. I got really upset with the Nocturne playthrough because I started on the wrong mode, thus cutting out a lot of the really fun masochistic content that's in the sort of special version of Nocturne. I didn't want to start over. But that was also back on YouTube. That was before Twitch. So if we think of the the timeline of things, and then I'm not trying to go through every single thing we did. Sarah said the Wazzy Dutch God Hand. That is also a classic moment. That was not scripted, by the way. I don't know if you're just looking at all of the clips on my channel, Sarah Lad, since all of them are there, but that one, the Dutch moment was so funny. The only way to do it justice is to show Wazzy's animation, because the on-stream moment's funny already, but when she did the animation with all of her Wazzy sucks at words things, that was pretty amusing. Crusher says, I remember that one. I think I was there for it. Again, not scripted. And so I think it started on YouTube as far as the collab stuff that we did. I know God Hand was the first one, really. It was with both Wazzy and Matt. And I'd like to continue to do more. Had a lot of fun streaming Armored Core with Matt last night. In fact, maybe it was just the timing, but there were a lot of people on that stream that came in to watch, and we're going to be doing more of that. You can expect to see more giant fighting robots and guns. The Sire Lad called out another thing that we did launch last year, and it's been difficult to get another one because of scheduling, but the Salt Table sessions with Wazzy, Matt, and Pink, and myself. Doing those was a lot of fun. I know that wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea just to hear people talking, but the idea of presenting characters or things or whatnot and then critiquing them on a roundtable format was a lot of fun just from a discussion perspective. Crutcher says, I think I missed that. What are they? Are you talking about the Salt Table sessions? Yeah. It's like a live podcast. Basically, we did 3 or 4 of them. And so the structure was we pick a topic and each person brings in a certain number of items to have as part of the discussion. So if it was character designs, for example, pick like 4 or 5 characters and then we present them to the group and then go in like a round table and critique what we're looking at. And we did random characters where no one else could see what everyone else was bringing. We did personas. I think that was Wazzy's. And in general, the Salt Table sessions were a lot of fun. They're just a lot of work to coordinate between 4 people. And so we will be bringing them back in 2023, hopefully early. I know what the next one's going to be, most likely. We just have to plan it. So again, Salt Table Sessions has been on a break for a bit, but we will be bringing them back. And we got a first-time chat from Warpstar Kirby36 saying, yo, music's a heckin' bop. Oh, hi there. Well, hello, Warpstar Kirby. Welcome to the Chill Stream. Hope you're having a good day. We're talking about the last year's worth of content here on Twitch and I guess technically YouTube. But thanks for the nice words on the beats. I have my BGM tracks that are in the background, stuff that we've made on stream with the help of chat that are also free, royalty-free resources for other streamers. So I do like to mention that just because people who see my stuff might not know that it's just resources for content creators. Let's see. I see a drop a beat from Crusher. I will get to that in 1 sec. And Sourlad said, any commands? I'd have to go look at the list, Sourlad. I know for raids, we have the shoutout command. The shoutout command does work. Eventually, I'll have the Discord live. I've never used quote. I should probably figure that one out too. I need to go and look at the list of commands. That's a good idea. I should do that. Warp Star Kirby says, "I'm good. How you doing, my friend?" And I didn't never knew you were a music producer. Awesome. Well, I'm not a music producer, but I make music. Like, I'm not a formally trained producer, so I'm still learning. But let me pause the BGM for one sec here. Okay, yeah, I think that the quote command needs to be set up separately, Crusher. I need to remember to do that. I might have to pick Sour Lad's brain if he knows how it works. All right, so I paused the BGM. And thanks for the hydrate, Sour Lad. I'm finishing up my smoothie from lunch. It's always good to hydrate. So to explain a little bit, the drop a beat redeem that Crusher redeemed for us here. Whenever someone redeems drop a beat, I have to stop what I'm doing and freestyle a beatbox beat on the spot for chat. Just since Kirby is new again, I'm a beatboxer. At least I like to call myself a beatboxer. So I've got to come up with something on the spot, and then I'll do the small Raku redeem after I finish this, Sour Lad. But thank you. So now I gotta think of something creative to do, and then we will move on. So let's do it. All right, let's put the BGM back on. And small. I'm going to put myself on the table. And we'll see how long it takes me to remember to turn it off. Oh, I need to add a timer. Maybe it's the first time someone's redeemed that here on the chill stream. So let me even remember where I put it. I think it's down here. Yep. All right. Let's shrink this down. That's fine. Let me put it up here. So kind of in line with what we've talked about as far as content, I think some of the most interesting things that have come out of streaming in the last year have been the Beatbox Jam streams, where I sort of prepare a rough curriculum of things to talk about in the world of beatboxing, beatbox technique, and sound theory, and on a different layout, but with my audio equipment all hooked up, we basically talk about beatboxing for a couple hours, go through things like talking through technique if people in chat are currently learning or interested in learning beatbox technique, like kind of like a Q&A type thing, breaking down basics, technique, and all that. One thing we added maybe mid-year was the whole idea of freestyle challenges on those beatbox streams, where I set a timer and I've got to freestyle for as long as possible before I either have to physically stop or I run out of ideas, and we keep like a personal best. And the point is to freestyle longer and push that personal best higher every time we do that on stream. And I think the last one was over 20 minutes, so it is going to continue to get even harder, but I'm sure we'll be able to push through. Warpstar Kirby says, all right, gotta head out. Nice to meet y'all. Super cool. You make music. Take care, everyone. All right, Kirby. Thank you for popping in and saying what's up. It was nice to meet you. I hope you have a good rest of your day and a happy new year, since it is very close to 2023, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. Oh, and thanks for the follow, Warpstar Kirby 36. I appreciate that. Again, have a good one. And I guess a good segue, talking about all of the beatbox stream stuff that we've done and whatnot over the last year. Probably the thing I'm the most proud of, again, I don't want to sound like I'm just tooting my own horn here, but the stuff that I'm probably the most proud of is the music stuff. When I got into VTubing and was looking at content creation, one of the things I always wanted to do was create music. I'm not a classically trained or formally trained musician like I've mentioned before, but through beatboxing and beatboxing type tech like the Loop Station, it seemed like that'd be a good avenue to put ideas together for music. And using the jam streams as like a collaborative thing with chat and chat's input on the stuff that we're doing means it's sort of like a project that we all contribute to. And I set out in 2022 specifically to become verified on actual streaming platforms. That was one of my goals. My goal is to keep making music stuff and to release it out there for people to use as just assets. But I also wanted to officially get them onto a streaming platform just so people could get at them easier. And so I can't remember when exactly that happened. It was closer to the beginning of the year, I think. But I was able to get verified on Spotify first, and then Tidal a little bit later, because for some reason the submission and approval process for Tidal took like over a month. For Spotify it took a couple weeks. But that's kind of a big deal because it means my work is officially out there, and I hope it continues to improve and get better. Some of the stuff that I've done is maybe a little bit more rough. Again, I'm not a producer, but over time I think as I learn and get better at the production side, it'll improve. Like I mentioned before, the project coming out being in next year is going to be very different from everything that I've done so far, but it's been a blast working on it and working with Wazzy. And so we'll talk a little bit more about it when it gets closer. Timer's done. But unlike all of the other releases I've done, when Lost Kingdom is officially out, I'm going to be doing a release party. It'll be on stream, and again, it'll be announced like a week in advance when we actually schedule it. But we'll basically be going through the full release video that Wazzy and I have put together on stream, and the two of us will be able to talk about behind the scenes stuff with all of you folks. So again, I'll mention more. I'll mention more about it when it gets closer, but I think that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Sarah asks, how's the Discord, by the way? Well, let's talk about 2023 resolutions. The Discord has not been updated a ton. I think I just need to check permissions. It's more or less finished as far as I want it, but I need someone who knows Discord better than me to make sure I didn't screw up permissions. I wanted to have it completely ready by the end of the year, but a lot of our other project stuff is taking priority. And let's see, Sarla, are you in that Discord? Basically, I have it in a preliminary state, and a couple people came on to help test stuff. So some of the Toxicure people are in there. Let's see, I haven't been here in a bit. Oh yeah, Sourlad's in there. I asked Sourlad to come in since he's a mod as well. Just to test stuff. We don't really talk a lot in there because it's really under construction. Crusher says, I could offer my services having run 2 servers. I will keep that in mind, Crusher, because I'm going to need mods. And I haven't even figured that out yet. So I'm going to prioritize getting the Discord launched once all of the Lost Kingdom stuff is done. And once it's done, it'll be put in here as a command for the stream mods to be able to use. And then we can point people to it. Sourlad said, yeah, there was a notification problem you had. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if you were there when I realized what the notification problem was, Sourlad. But it's actually the last string of conversations in the general. And you could see everybody else that was there helping me test laughing at me for not understanding how Discord works. So basically, I thought all of the server activity pings, this is for Crusher's awareness because it's pretty embarrassing, but you know, it is what it is. I thought all of the Discord activity server pings would look like the red notification symbols in the lower right, which is usually for announcements and whatnot. I thought all chat activity pings would look like that. I didn't realize that the white dot to the right or left of the Discord is all activity. And so for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't see it. And I was getting the pings, just I didn't realize that's what it looked like. Yes. For example, Sourlad just posted a testing message in there, and now I can see it because I know what it looks like. And all the rest of the people in the Discord thought that was so hilarious because apparently everybody knows that, but I didn't. So the notification part is fine. I think it's just channel permissions. And so I need to go back in there and take a look. So anyway, to answer your question, that's going to be something early in the year that I'd like to get done. Once the latest project stuff is finished, then I'll probably work on that a little bit. Technology is complicated. Crusher says, it's okay, I learned by doing, so there's still stuff I don't know. And that's fair. Apparently, the stuff I didn't know is very obvious. It wasn't obvious to me. It's fine. I don't have a big enough ego that I refuse to admit when I'm wrong. I don't know if I said what's up to Red Dragon. I know Red Dragon and Kirby showed up at the same time. But in case I didn't, I did see you, Red Dragon. I hope you're having a good Friday as well. But yeah, good question from Sour on the Discord. Interestingly enough, because again, it's not been super active, so the folks in there probably don't check it often. But I had a channel for AI art that I was thinking about using for fun stuff and for potential content, and then AI art became really controversial, and it's especially controversial amongst some of our friends. So I kind of just discreetly deleted that channel. I don't want to create controversy, even though I think AI art is really interesting, but it's definitely a problem for artists, the way I've seen it used. And so that's one thing I did on the Discord just before it even launched, because I didn't want to deal with that headache. And so let's see. Looking back over the last year, what else noteworthy did we do? We could talk about the actual music releases. Again, I don't really want it to just be a look at all the cool things I did type of discussion, but the music releases over the last year have been pretty interesting to work on. We had, thinking backwards from the most recent ones, the second BGM collection was released in November. And before that, it was Halloween. I think it was Stream Sounds before that. And so, just because I've been asked before if I have a schedule or like a release plan for the stuff I make, the answer is no. I don't plan that well. I usually try and space out releases maybe every 1 to 2 months or so, depending on what I'm working on, but it's not set in stone. Crusher says, I understand how it's a problem, but it could also help disabled artists. And Starlight said, AI art is fun until people start to misuse it. I think the real problem isn't necessarily the technology, it's how the technology works. And so, and not all of the AIs function the same way, which is also something that I think people gloss over a little bit. I think if they are used with content that from consenting artists as far as how the AI is trained, I think that is more defendable than the ones that just use all sorts of stuff for reference as either training or as literal references for what's produced without artist permission. And some of them do that and some of them don't. But that's the ethical side. And it's a debate. You could probably argue from a bunch of different perspectives. I have thoughts. If we ever want to get into that topic more, maybe we can in the future. But it's very, like I said, controversial amongst the artist community, which I get. And going forward, who knows where it's gonna evolve. I was talking to Wazi recently about a video that Critical did on AI, and it was an AI writing program. And basically I forget what site, but they basically said, create a Kotaku article about how the Metroid video game series is racist, misogynist, and all this other stuff, and create an article. And the AI created a coherent, top to bottom article that looks like it'd be read on a publication, and it was crazy. And, that's a potential risk for writers, especially if, quote unquote, journalist outlets only care about clicks. They're not going to care who they get the stuff from if it's going to get clicks. And it'll be really interesting to see if that starts becoming a more commonly used piece of technology for creating, written articles. And I've heard there's also an AI being developed for making music. And I'll be honest, if they released something that said, put a bunch of prompts into a program, you type it in about what kind of music you want, the style, instruments and whatnot, and it'll create it, I would be super interested to see how that works. I don't know if I would use it primarily to create my own music. It would depend on, again, how the AI is trained. And like Sarlad is saying, AI that just takes over everything that's on Google, or people that try to mimic someone's style. Yeah, that's the thing for the art ones. And one discussion I see people talk about a lot on AI art is the whole idea of style. Because you can imitate or be inspired by a style. You can't copyright style. You can copyright physical works. You know, someone can't reproduce the Mona Lisa and put their name on it. But if they wanted to do a painting in the style of the Mona Lisa, there's nothing illegal about that. And that's the ethical side of the debate, again, because even if you are an artist learning on your own, chances are you're going to be inspired by someone's style. And as long as you don't rip it off, and if you find a way to make it your own and make it unique, it's very similar to what the AIs are trying to do. It's just they're not always developed that way. And that's the tricky thing. Carter says, I would use it to make my own music, but just for me, not for like money. And I think that's part of the ethical debate as well, because I've used AI tools to create a lot of stuff, but it's not for things that are profit based. You know, I like desktop wallpapers, and I've used AI generation stuff to create a lot of really cool things. I will say though, and this is maybe going to get me in trouble later, and that's fine, but for The Lost Kingdom, you folks haven't seen the cover art for it. I'll be showing it off probably when it gets closer to release. But the cover art for the Lost Kingdom BGM pack was created using AI generated assets that I composited and I edited together in Photoshop, and I added some stuff too. But it was developed using some stuff I put into AI, and then I kind of merged things together. And some people might say that's a problem, but as far as I can tell, it didn't lift anything from anybody else. And one argument, again, I'm not trying to just justify carte blanche use of AI, but an argument I see frequently whenever someone posts something that's AI derived, whether it's a work or just to show off something they made, one of the biggest arguments is you could have hired an artist to do that, which is true. That's very true. And for the Lost Kingdom album art, that's what I attempted to do. But I had an opportunity with the commission artist I was trying to work with go rather poorly. I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm not going to name names. It doesn't matter. But for a good month or so, I tried to get that to happen, and it just didn't. And I had to make a decision because it was getting close to when I wanted to release the project. And I would much prefer to hire someone. That's why I hired an animator to work on that project. That's why I've hired people like Pink to do the art for my stream stuff. But it didn't work out for that particular project, and I didn't have time to go and find somebody else, so I had to make a decision. And I know people out in the artist community wouldn't even take that as a justifiable excuse. That's fine. Again, I had to get something done because I was on a specific time schedule. Crutcher says I'm excited to see it. I think it's pretty cool. Well, we'll be showing that off a little bit later. It's very different from everything else that I've done on the album art side. And so that'll be something fun. I think it turned out well. I had some input from some other people. But yeah, as far as the AI art, again, we don't have to get into it too much today, but it's a constantly evolving topic, and I'm curious to see where it goes. And I'll start worrying when it really looks like my job is on the line. You never know. There might be an AI-generated VTuber in the future. Crutcher says, I want to see a beatboxing anime with a Oraku in it. So another thing, as we talk about the behind-the-scenes and development side of VTubing. So in the VTuber community, it's a very big, diverse, and very rapidly expanding community, which is great. I think VTubing is a really interesting content creation choice. But one thing I see a lot of people on Twitter, of all places, talking about is the whole idea of designs. And one thing that I was really paranoid about when I was planning and designing the stuff for this VTuber project was if my design was going to be really similar to someone else's. And I guess one thing that I had in my favor is that the proportion of male VTubers to female VTubers is a little bit less. There are a lot of male VTubers now, but when I started, it was a little bit less. We had the big names like the Holostars and Nijisanji folks, obviously, but I feel like there was, by and large, more female VTubers to male at the time, and it's slowly evening out a little. But I had this concern in designing the character model of what if someone else has the same design, or what if I unintentionally create a design that's very similar to someone else. And so a big portion of planning before I commissioned an artist, before I did any of that, was just looking through pages and pages of VTuber information just to make sure I wasn't unintentionally creating a design similar to someone else's. And as far as I can tell, this particular design is somewhat unique. There are not a lot of music-based people that are aliens. And so I think I'm okay, but that's not to say someone next week couldn't unintentionally come up with a design that's very similar. I don't police that stuff. To me, it's not worth it. I could spend time going and seeing all the new indie VTubers or mainstream ones and saying, hey, your design looks like it's suspiciously similar, but honestly, I don't have time for that. You folks know me, I'm not a drama person. But that was a concern. Because VTuber community's got a lot of drama. But a lot of it seems to be, hey, this person ripped off this other person. And, again, Twitter sucks. So you can see how some of those conversations might go. Crutcher says, I tried to get into VTubing, but my computer couldn't run it for too long and do gaming. I see. And trust me, I know exactly what that's like because of my ancient graphics card that has torpedoed some of my stream content plans temporarily. We've talked before about my PC, and I have a pretty decently powerful PC, but the graphics card is extremely old. My NVIDIA 970 is definitely showing its age, and so when I tried to stream Devil May Cry 5, didn't work. I think Saralad, I don't know if both of you were there, but basically it was running at 2 frames a second, and that was a bit of a problem. When I stream Monster Hunter, I have to be careful about my settings because if I go like one notch too high, then the whole thing really just tanks. Crusher says we got to get you a 3090 or whatever the newest graphics card is. So I mentioned this at some point, but I don't talk about stuff like this often. But I did get a new card. I managed to get in on like Black Friday pre-Christmas sale, and so I have a 3070 now. I just haven't installed it yet because I really suck at hardware. And so a friend of mine is going to help me put it together. The same friend of mine that has helped me build my PCs since we were in school. It was a long time. My best friend who lives in the area. And so once I get it installed, I'll be able to mess around with some stuff, and hopefully it'll be obvious that the graphic fidelity will be much higher. I got a 3070 Ti because they had them in stock. So early 2023, that'll eventually be a thing, and then I won't have to worry about it. Unless it doesn't fit in my case. That is the only thing that I'm readily concerned about, at which point I'll have to buy a new case. But I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So yes, the age of ancient graphics cards will be coming to an end soon. I actually had to tweak my stream settings a little bit for Armored Core, just because with the 360, the quote-unquote 360 I'm running, trying to force it to go 60 frames a second was causing it to lag severely. But we got that worked out before we went live. Crutcher says, I need to get a job so I can get a gaming desktop for my kitchen desk. It isn't an investment, but if you're looking at doing content and streaming and whatnot, even if it's not specifically VTubing, I just figured it was worth it for the stuff I do. Like, I do a lot of video editing and graphics rendering and other stuff, that a lot of stuff you folks don't see. But I've always needed kind of a high horsepower computer to do all that stuff. It's just, I didn't really stream. And once I got into VTubing and streaming, games of various levels of intensity, that's when it started to be very apparent that my video card was too old. And so I managed to get lucky. There was some stuff in stock because things were sold out everywhere. 3070 is not super top of the line because I think the 4000 series came out recently, but those are impossible to get. And so I got what I needed to be able to do what I normally do and not have to push it too hard. So hopefully early in the new year we can get that in place, and then eventually we can upgrade the quality of the streams. Yeah, echo what Sour's saying, Crusher. Good luck on the job hunt. It's a grind. It's definitely a grind. Crusher says, my computer has a decent graphics card. I think I've got the Radeon graphics card, but I don't know the number. Okay. Yeah, usually I don't keep super close tabs on the hardware market unless I need to replace or upgrade something. Like I said, the parts in my PC now, because I had to replace some stuff when my PC died at the beginning of this year, prior to jumping over to Twitch. And so I took the opportunity to swap some core parts out. And I said, the graphics card's probably okay. I was wrong, but it's not like I could have got a new one at the time anyway, so it's fine. Alright, so let's see. Thinking back on the year, we talked a bit about the music, the streams. I guess another thing we didn't really talk about too much is the art side of content. And one thing I plan on doing when I have the Discord live is there'll be a dedicated place for me to put the art that I make on stream. Because right now I don't post the stuff anywhere. One, because a lot of those things aren't done. And two, I didn't really want to flood Twitter with just random pictures that I've drawn on stream with all of you folks. And so I plan on doing basically a dump of all the completed stuff in one spot on the Discord so that people can look and see, like, oh, hey, here's that thing from that one stream that I saw. You know, now it's the finished product. And you can't really see that now, so that's one thing I'm looking at doing as part of the Discord. Crutcher says, luckily there are a lot of available jobs. I just need to go looking. But I was hoping to get my meds situation under control, and it's starting to look like I found a viable solution. Well, that's good. I know that'll definitely make it easier if everything is stable, you know, med-wise, and then, you know, once you have that as a long-term solution, then it'll make it easier to go and do the job thing versus trying to do it in the opposite order, right? But yeah, again, good luck with the grind out there, but I'm sure you'll be fine. But yeah, so the stream art stuff will have a home. I know over the last year, for a good majority of the art streams, we did a lot of character study. We did a lot of creature study, and we did a couple challenges too, where it's like, you know, a random shape drawing. I wouldn't mind doing more of that. A lot of it is chipping away at the projects that I've got going, but also not just getting into kind of a rut when it comes to the stuff I'm drawing on stream. If I had more time, if I could stream for like 5 hours at a time, then I'd probably get more done. But I don't know if people would be willing to listen to me talk about character or creature concepts for that long. Sarah says, remember to know your worth. That's good advice in general. Not just for the job hunt, but just in general. Everybody has value and worth. Even though I know sometimes it might not seem like it, but that is important. Not to armchair psychiatry this session, but Carter says yes, do it. I'm not streaming for 5 hours straight drawing. I don't think I could come up with enough interesting things to say. But Saralad says, any personal favorites of the arts you made this year? That's a good question. I don't even remember the arts I made this last year. I do really like the Monster Hunter Fusion project, which was a lot earlier on. It's been a really long time since I finished that one. That was a lot of fun to work on. In fact, that's the only thing posted in the Discord, just as a placeholder for the art stuff. But I would like to revisit that at some point. But the character studies are probably my favorite, just because they're the most outside of my realm of ability and comfort. I'm really bad at drawing people, and I want to get better at drawing things in like a manga type style. That's why I started learning many years ago. But doing things like bringing back old art and trying to improve it, I got a lot of old art, a lot of old, really embarrassing art. But the idea of taking it and trying to redraw it and improve it is something we experimented with in the last month or so. And so I want to do more of that, for sure. Crutcher says, have a co-host maybe like Wazi. I'm sure she'd love to stream for 5 hours. I kid. I don't think I could pay her to do that. Like everyone else, people have lives. If I had more time, I would be streaming every day for hours at a time. But I don't, so it's a juggling act like everything else. Sarah said, I remember the biblically accurate arts you did. You and Wazi, or was it Whoops? I think it was all three of us on her stream. We did biblically accurate Pokemon, I believe. That was fun. I would do that again. Yeah, so what we're talking about, Crusher, is we basically took existing Pokemon and made them horrible. Like horrible biblically accurate angel type things. That was fun. I'm going to do more of that. There's some ideas for some art streams. I think Wazi's art streams are more compelling because she can draw faster than I can. But we have a concept that she might have forgot. I might have to remind her. But there's another concept that we're looking at doing, and I think we have to figure out whose channel to do it on. But there'll be stuff coming next year. I want to get more co-host stuff back in swing here on Twitch. We had Armored Core yesterday. Maybe once Killer 7 is done, I'm thinking about playing Hades. I've never played Hades, and everyone has been yelling at me to play that, especially with the sequel coming out. And so maybe I can wrangle Wazzy into co-hosting for that, since I know she likes that game a lot. I need an expert. But let's see. On the art side, another question I've gotten from some people is if I'm ever going to do art requests. And because I know that's Wazzy's thing. She does that on her stream, and it's probably one of the most popular things she does. The reason why I don't do art requests is because I'm too slow. I tend to draw in a bit more of a detailed style in general, but I can't do it as quickly as she does in Flash. And so that's the reason why I don't do drawing requests. That being said, I am thinking about some ideas for next year as far as the art streams go on how to make things interactive. You know, how to come up with some things that the chat can engage in that's not just requests. Hey, we have a chat from Sponsor Man. What's up, Sponsor Man? Sponsor Man says, hope you had a great Jewel if you celebrate. Are we talking about like the holidays? If so, likewise. I hope you had a good series of holidays and a good New Year too. I still can't believe we're coming up on 2023, but yeah, welcome, Sponsor Man. We're looking back on all the things we've done in 2022 over the last year, little less than a year here on Twitch. Charlotte said, you do, Raku, love the arts and beatboxing. Kind of in line with what I was talking about on stream. I asked kind of in general to whoever was there the idea of doing more of the Beatbox Jam streams. Because again, we do them roughly once every other week. And I do enjoy doing those because it doesn't require a whole lot of planning and setup. And so I will look at maybe adjusting the schedule and doing maybe one a week. We'll see. I have to kind of figure that out. Crutcher says, going off earlier, you could have crew come stream to co-host. If that's something you'd be interested in. Kind of like the crew days that Wazzy has. I would be open to that idea. I think right now it'd probably be limited to maybe a couple people who are regulars here, but in the future I'd be open to doing something like that. It kind of depends on the content, but yeah, that's a good suggestion. That's something to think about. And I see Sponsor Man has redeemed drop a beat. So let us pause the BGM. And I gotta think of another beat. Let's do something different from the last one. We did kind of more of a hip-hop-ish type beat before. What if we go back to drum and bass? That's one of my favorite genres. Let's see if we can do that. All right. BGM back on. Sponsor man says pause the beat, drop the beat. Yeah, I need to make sure I don't forget to turn off whatever BGM I'm doing. It would be terrible if people redeem, drop a beat, and then I forget to mute out whatever I'm doing. Sarlad says, you and Matt made Monster Hunter one of the top categories in my Twitch recap. That'll happen. So that might be a good thing to discuss too. Probably the most consistent game that I streamed over the last year was Monster Hunter Rise. Right? Blups and I went through base Rise, and they have not gotten Sunbreak yet. And if they ever do, then we'll have to bring them up to speed. But going through Monster Hunter, and then when the expansion for Sunbreak came out, going through that, and then going through it with Matt, I did play a little bit with Red Dragon. I think that's going to continue into next year, at least until the updates for Sunbreak are done. And so you'll see Monster Hunter streams sprinkled here or there. It's endgame stuff, and as updates come out and new content gets added, I'll probably treat it kind of like just a breaking up the routine type deal, because I really like talking about Monster Hunter. It's my favorite series, and I could sit there and talk about it for hours and hours, but I don't know if people would find that super interesting, so that's why it's not like a constant. Every week we have a Monster Hunter stream. It's kind of sprinkled in here or there. Kind of the same thing with Vampire Survivors. Talking about one thing I focused on a lot over the last year, not necessarily because it was trendy or what everyone was playing, but I really like Vampire Survivors. It's probably one of my favorite games to come out this last year, and it's so interesting, and stuff is still coming out for it. And so by that similar token, you'll probably see Vampire Survivors streams sprinkled here or there too, most likely around updates and content. As fun as turning my bitrate into soup is, it's better if there's things to talk about instead of just grinding. And so it's another series that we'll return to here or there. There's some other similar wave-based shooters that we did try out, so that it wasn't just Vampire Survivors. We looked at HoloCure, the fan-made HoloLive game. That is another one I need to get back to, especially when the next update comes out, because I'm not nearly close to maxing out and leveling everything in HoloCure. Sarlett asks, how's the DLC? Still have content left? The DLC for Vampire Survivors is great. A great value for a couple bucks. We looked at the new map and everything last time. I have not unlocked everything. I have not had time to grind through more. And so I still have stuff left to do in the game. But combined, I think it's a total of $6 USD for the base game. Well, at least at the time. Might be $5 now plus $2 for the DLC. Either way, you're spending less than $10 for a lot of gameplay. And that's nuts. I gotta hand it to Ponkel and the dev team for Vampire Survivors. That's definitely my favorite indie game to come out in the last year or so. But we'll probably rotate back to some of the other ones. I know I did cover the last update to Nova Drift. It was like a boss update, I think. That's another one that we played a decent amount of times on stream. Nova Drift is the one that looks like a top-down shoot 'em up. And then you have a ship, and you choose the different weapons for the ship. And you try and get as far as possible, and it gets more and more difficult. That's also a really good game. We looked at 20 Minutes Till Daylight. It's another one. There's been a lot for that one that I haven't really talked about on stream. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of rotating in the wave-based shooter roguelites here or there. Let's see. What are some of our other long plays? I feel like I haven't played all the way through a lot this last year. Oh, we've done retro games. That's another one. We've done several spotlights throughout the last year's worth of streaming content where we looked at games on the older video game systems, like NES and SNES specifically. A couple times we went and played through some old Nintendo games. We ran through Legend of Zelda Randomized with Matt, Link to the Past. Can't forget about that one. That was fun. It was stressful, but that was fun. I do want to return to our Metroid Zero Mission Randomizer just to see if we have a dead run. So maybe we'll revisit that one in the future, in between the Armored Core stuff that Matt and I are currently playing through. But I think I'll definitely be working on more retro stuff here or there. It's going to be kind of like again, break up the routine type deal, where we look at games from the older systems. Another big part of the channel here or there has been fighting games. I keep talking about Fighting Game Month. Fighting Game Month will happen eventually. I don't know when. It requires a bit more planning. But we've looked at a whole host of fighting games throughout the last year. We looked at Guilty Gear Strive, which will run a lot better on my computer once I get that graphics card installed. We looked at Skullgirls, one of my all-time favorite fighting games. And that one's has gotten some new content. One new character, and then there's another one that's being developed now. So I would like to do a brawl night where we do some online matches. I could probably wrangle Wazzy for that because I know she likes Skullgirls a lot too. We looked at Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which I haven't been back to since they patched in rollback netcode. I would like to get back to that one too. That's a pretty solid fighter from the older platform era. More recently, I think the most recent fighting game that I covered was Soul Calibur 6. Playing through, explaining the mechanics of that one was pretty fun. Before that, I think it was Killer Instinct. Another one of my favorite titles come out in the last decade or so. Sourlet asks, Skullgirls is the one with the Music Man, right? Are you talking about Big Band? The big dude in the trench coat who pulls out all the different, like, wind instruments? If so, then yeah, that's Skullgirls. There's a really diverse cast of characters that are all very unique. I think I've only covered Skullgirls once here. But, yeah. The character Umbrella came out that I have not tried, and Black Dahlia is the one that's being worked on now. So yeah, I definitely want to get back to more Skullgirls. Again, it's one of my favorite fighting games of all time. I have a wall here in my room that's ceiling to floor Skullgirls posters. Sarlet says, imagine playing a Rickroll or Among Us and killing your opponent. Yep, that's the special super that Big Man has where he pulls a trumpet out and the different button inputs correspond to notes. So you can play a little tune right before demolishing the opponent. As far as future fighting game plans, we looked at the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, which I think might be dead now. I haven't looked at that game in a while. We did look at that one briefly, which was pretty fun. Let's see, was there another one? What else do we do fighting game wise? There might be some other ones I'm missing off the top of my head, but another one I want to cover on the channel will be sometime next year, definitely for fighting game month, is Them's Fightin' Herds. That is the indie fighting game made using the Skullgirls engine. And it's the one that was a My Little Pony fighting game first. That one's a lot of fun. We haven't covered that one yet, but I plan on covering that one eventually because I've played that a lot. Not recently, and I haven't checked out the recent characters, but I played that one competitively for a bit. And so, if you want to see adorable four-legged animals beating the stuffing out of each other, that'll be something in the near future. It's a really fun game. Crusher says, I think Valentine and the girl with the arms on her head, her VA is a miraculous ladybug. Valentine, the ninja nurse, she's voiced by Laura Post. And the girl with the arms on her head, Sarabella, is voiced by Christina V. I don't know if Christina V is the one who voices Miraculous Ladybug, but she's in a whole bunch of stuff. She's a pretty prolific voice actor. It's in a lot of things, and one of the first things I ever saw her voice was for Skullgirls. So that's pretty cool. Laura Post has been in some other stuff too. It's been in anime and some other games too. Crutcher says they're my favorite characters. Yes, she is. That's where I recognize her from when I saw Sarabella. I see. Another person who voiced, I think, Parasol. I think that's Erin Fitzgerald, who's voiced other things. I think she was Chie in the second voice casting for Persona 4. To find out, but if you ask the internets. Yeah, Erin Fitzgerald. What else was she in? Well, she's done characters in the Monster High series. And she was the second voice of Chie in Persona 4. Yeah. I guess I do have a somewhat decent memory. So let's say the one character with the big hands for hair. Sarabella's the one that has the hat with the big like muscle arms that come out of it. There's also Philia, whose hair is literally alive. Her hair is kind of like the symbiote where it changes shape. That's the thing I really appreciate about Skullgirls. The cast is incredibly diverse. Everybody plays differently. It's just a shame that game has gone through so much development hell with the rights and certain people who own the rights and the companies being less than on the up and up. But I think it's in a good place now. We're getting a whole season of characters for Skullgirls, and the game's like a decade old. So that's definitely something. But yeah, fighting games are definitely going to be another mainstay here on the channel. We looked at the old Capcom fighters briefly. We looked at Darkstalkers. We looked at Cyberbots. I need to go back and play through some of the other entries in that Capcom fighting collection. I do want to get into Street Fighter 6. I haven't been able to do the beta. I don't even think they have that on PC. But once Street Fighter 6 comes out, I need to look at that. I missed 5. I think I'd probably find some people to spar against too. That's next year. If you look forward to the future, there's a lot of content gaming wise I really want to focus on next year. It's gonna be busy. We've got obviously an Armored Core game coming out, which I will be playing on stream, possibly for a long time. We've got RE4 Remake, which is coming out next year, which I will definitely be playing on stream because I love Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite games. Starlight said the new Tekken game, Tekken 8. Yeah, Tekken 8 looks interesting. I don't like Tekken personally. It's not really my style for a fighting game, but it looks really cool. The engine and everything, the visuals for Tekken 8 look fantastic. Maybe they can use that and do another Soul Calibur game in 5 years. But yeah, the gaming release calendar for the next year is definitely stacked. There's a lot coming out. Wild Hearts, that's another one that I've had my eyes on. Haven't really talked a ton about it here on the channel, but that's being developed by... It's being published under the EA Originals, and it's being developed by Tecmo Koei, the Dynasty Musou Warriors people. But Wild Hearts is a Monster Hunter type game being developed by those folks, and it looks really cool. Doesn't have a release date yet. It's coming out sometime next year, I think. But anything that can compete with the Monster Hunter brand and is always good. Competition forces innovation, and it forces people to up their game. So I'll definitely be checking out Wild Hearts, and we'll see if it measures up. How closely it measures up to the tried and true Monster Hunter formula. I'm pretty confident it'll be good. That team has made other Monster Hunter likes before. I don't know if you folks ever had a PSP or a Vita, but the Tokiden series of games that Tecmo Koei did were very similar to Monster Hunter. Instead of it being like a generic or unspecified fantasy environment, it was like a Japanese feudal environment. And instead of hunting dragons and dinosaurs and whatnot in Tokiden, you hunt things that are modeled after Oni and yokai, Japanese demons. And so you have the big kind of traditional Oni and other types of things. It was a really good game. It's a shame it wasn't super popular because it was on the Sony handhelds and later ported to PS3 and Tokiden 2, I think. You can play those games on PC, just there's not a lot of people playing them for the multiplayer. So we'll see how Wild Hearts turns out. I'll be following the development of that very closely. We'll check it out on stream when it comes out. Thinking about other types of content that I'd like to do in the new year. I would like to mix in more tier list streams. Those are a little bit of a challenge because I have to find things that I actually want to talk about and then get canceled for my subsequent bad opinions on things like food. But I definitely want to do more tier list things in this type of format. And I will say, just to put it out there again, like I've said in the past, if you ever see a tier list that someone else has posted, or you just see it on the site and you think it'd be interesting for me to talk about, feel free to send it to me. You can send it to me on Twitter or Discord, and then I can put it on the list, because I keep a list of all of the tier list things to go over on streams. Crutcher says, I got my Wazzy repellent in the freezer. Got that mint chocolate chip. Ah, nice. I personally think mint chocolate chip is okay. It is not my favorite, but it is not bad. I think it is okay. Crusher asked, Raku, do you like RPGs? Are we talking, what kind of RPGs are we talking, Crusher? Are we talking like traditional turn-based like JRPGs or like Western RPGs, like kind of like a Dragon Age or Elder Scrolls or Skyrim type stuff. On topic, Charlotte said Breath of Fire streams. That is true. We did play all the way through Breath of Fire 2, my favorite SNES RPG. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that game. There will be other things on the advance. I need to remember that I have access to advanced stuff now. Maybe down the road after we finish Armored Core. I would like to look at Zone of Ender's Fist of Mars from the advance. It's a futuristic mecha type game, but it is not. It's not a third person type game. It's more like Advance Wars with mechs. But it's really interesting. It's one of my favorite games from the advance. I put that on the list. Crusher says, my favorite is Moose Tracks, vanilla ice cream with fudge swirls and peanut butter cups. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've had that before. That's good. My favorite ice cream is probably cookie dough. But I'll eat most types. On the topic of RPGs, Witcher 3. I have not played any of the Witcher games. Like the more third-person RPG stuff, I do like, but wouldn't be at the top of my list. I like the JRPG side more, comparatively. Starlet says, ever played a Metal Gear game? Sort of. I had to think for a sec. I haven't played Solid, and I haven't played Twin Snakes or Snake Eater or 4. The only Metal Gear game I've played is Phantom Pain for like 70%, and then I stopped to the frustration of my coworker who plays more video games than me, and she wanted to talk to me about the ending, but I didn't beat the game. But Metal Gear Solid 5 is the only one I've played any decent of the way through. I played a little bit through Revengeance. That's another one to potentially put on the list of games to look at on stream, because I want to beat it. I know more about the memes than I do the end of the game. But largely the Metal Gear universe isn't something I know a ton about. But as far as Platinum and character action games go, Revengeance, it's a good game. So we'll see. Maybe put that one on the list in the future too. Crusher asks, cookies and cream is good. What about cookie dough? Well, like I mentioned a second ago, cookie dough is my favorite type of ice cream. I'll usually eat most things as long as it's not coffee flavored. I don't like coffee. But cookie dough is top of the list for me. I like fruit sherbets and sorbets as well. But yeah, I'm not afraid of feeling guilty. Cookie dough, it's my jam. Sorry, I said memes, the DNA of the soul. Nanomachine son. Another game that I'd like to play through with everyone on stream to show off, because to me, it's what I consider one of the most underrated games Platinum has ever done. You know, the Bayonetta folks who did Revengeance. And that's Anarchy Reigns. And I've talked about it before, here or there. It was a 360 and PS3 game. And it was released with like no promotion. No one knew anything about it. The only reason why I knew about it was because of the Super Best Friends Play guys. They really spotlighted it. And it's one of my favorite action beat 'em up type games from the 360 era. And I have a copy that works with my current 360 in quotes. That's what I'm using for Armored Core. And so I don't know exactly when, because I don't want to start a whole bunch of different games at once. I usually try and restrict myself to a couple long-running ones. We will be looking at Anarchy Reigns at some point. That game is incredibly fun. Crusher says, there's a really good watermelon sorbet here. If you ever come to Kentucky, let me show you around. Yeah, I bet. Definitely. That is considerably farther away from where I live, but if I'm ever in the area, I'll definitely hit you up for that. Sarah says, lemon sorbet. I think we can all assume Saralad is a fan of sour stuff, unless the name is ironic. We'll let Saralad specify there. But it's very on brand. Before we continue on, I'm going to go refill my cup of GuFuel. But I don't really know what flavors to mix for it. Too bad I don't have a list. I'd have you folks choose for me. I think the last one I drank was mango. But I will go and figure that out. So I'm going to go and grab some more beverage. And I'll just let everything run here. So I'll be back in 1 minute. All right. I don't know why my model decided to just clip directly into the top of my window, but it could have been a little more flattering. I ended up going for blue raspberry plus this yuzu flavor of Gafuel. It's all right. I think I mentioned before that my cabinet is full of G Fuel flavors and the Gamer Sups flavors. I have a whole mix of the different caffeine-free products because I can't drink caffeine. And every once in a while, when a new flavor comes out, I'll pick it up and then it goes in the rotation. And I've yet to completely go through one, so I just have a cupboard full of them. But I noticed one flavor that they had on the Gamer Sups catalog, and it was made by popular streamer Jay Schlatt, and it's called Titty Milk. I've heard it's good. I've not tried it yet. I will let you folks know if I ever get a container of Titty Milk. That is some aggressive branding, which is pretty funny. It's real. Let me see if I can find it. I'll send it to you, Crusher. Here, just let me put it in the chat. I've heard it tastes like pina colada. It's real. It's real. I sent you the caffeine-free one, but there's a regular, like, energy drink caffeinated version of that product. I'll probably try it next time I buy something from them. I tried the last one I bought was strawberry and black cherry. I don't really recommend the black cherry. It's got a weird aftertaste to it. Maybe someday I'll be sponsored by those folks. I talk about their products all the time. Alright, let me step back through the catalog. Oh, another thing we did. Oh, Sour Lad get dropped from the chat. I don't know if Sour Lad saw your last couple chats, Crusher. It sounds like he got dropped and he popped back in. Crusher asks, if you could make a Gafuel flavor, what would it be? I know someone has asked me that before, and honestly, I cannot remember what I said, so we're going to treat it like I never answered that question before, and we're going to do it live. I think if I was going to do a flavor, my favorite fruit is strawberry, but there's already been strawberry flavors done to death, so it'd have to be something a little bit unique, I think. Thinking tropical, and pineapple's been done to death too, so maybe like a starfruit guava or starfruit passion fruit combination I think would be really good. I like guava and passion fruit flavor a lot. It reminds me of, going on vacation in Hawaii. So probably something like that. And we'd have to brand it with some sort of alien type branding, but yeah, that would probably be my choice. That'd be the dream, man. if I ever get the chance to create my own either Guff Fuel or Gamer Sups type product, that'd be a dream come true. Ah, I see. Sorry, that's it. I'm not 21 yet. Crusher's talking about beers. Here's a question, Crusher. In your area, as I know you're in the Kentucky area, are ciders a thing where you live on the other end of the country? Where I'm from, here on the West Coast, or where I live rather, on the West Coast, ciders have become a real thing over the last few years. And because I don't drink beer and I don't drink wine, having hard cider become a thing has been a godsend, because then I don't have to be that guy who doesn't have a bottle. I know, the rare occasion I actually go to a bar. I see. Yes, they are, and I love them. If you ever want recommendations for ciders to check out, let me know. I can rattle some off. A lot of them you can get just in the grocery store. They're not super off the radar. It just depends on what your store's stock. But yeah, not without going to true degen mode. If I'm in a drinking setting, I'll either go for cider. I don't mind seltzer. You know, I'm not too good for White Claws or anything like that. I think it's fine. But I tend to go for cocktails or some sort of hard liquor. It's usually my go-to. I know, probably like 4 months ago or more, we did an alcohol ranking tier list. And I know for people who don't drink, again, if you're not 21 in the States or of legal drinking age in your respective country, then you probably shouldn't be drinking. I'm not your parents. Crusher says, there's a hard cider I tried recently that I had tasted like a cidery wine. Oh, okay. It was really good. And Crusher does not like the taste of seltzers. That's fair. I think if you like strong flavors, then seltzers are probably going to be a little underwhelming. Every once in a while, I like lighter type stuff. It's really good in the summer, but some people are too good. They think seltzers are too basic. It's fine, man. Like, drink whatever tastes good. And that's what my father always said back on Homeworld. Drink what tastes good, not what impresses people. Saralad says, can't say anything, haven't tried anything but non-alcoholic cider. And don't get me wrong, non-alcoholic cider is good too. In fact, that's one thing I didn't do this fall. I normally brew my own apple cider from scratch in quotes, and I share it with people. I still might. I mean, there's no time limit, but it's basically a bunch of different types of store-bought apple juice brewed on the stove with fresh cinnamon sticks, cloves, and some other things I throw in there, and then simmered and brewed for a long time, and then just thrown in bottles and kept in the fridge. It's a really good fall drink, but it doesn't mean you can only drink it in fall. On the topic of seltzers, Crusher says, I don't fault anyone who likes them, I just don't personally. That's perfectly fine. Again, everyone has different tastes. I personally can't stand the taste of gin. I know a lot of people who really like gin in drinks or by itself. I think it tastes like pine needles, and I just don't like it. I don't like it in anything it's mixed in. Sour says, I love San Pellegrino Limonada. Would recommend it to you guys. Is that the lemon flavored sparkling water? Sour Lad? Because I've seen that before. I don't think I've ever tried it. I've had regular Pellegrino just by itself, but I've never had the lemon flavored one. I'm going to talk about drinking related things. I don't go out much, which is probably no surprise to you folks, but I don't really go out a lot. But I did go to a bar a couple days ago in the immediate area, like a couple cities over where I live. And it was a place I used to go to a lot with a couple friends of mine pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, the idea of going into a crowded place doesn't really fill me with joy. But there was this place we used to go to a couple cities over that was set up kind of like an old Prohibition-era speakeasy. And they did a lot of interesting drinks, and so we actually were able to go over there during the week. And the cocktails they do there are really kind of unique and unusual. Not cheap if you go there outside happy hour, but that was a good time. It made things seem a lot more normal, you know. Crusher says going to a crowded area does not spark joy. Yeah, so what we did was we booked an actual reservation. This place isn't only reservations, but we booked a table there right when they opened. And we were there for maybe an hour and a half or so. And we got there before they were super crowded. And it never really got super, super busy. They had things kind of spaced out. And it was fine. But yeah, the cocktails are definitely my thing. I don't make them super often because I don't have a ton of mixology gear. But you talk about the standard cocktails. Again, I'm sitting here talking about alcohol on stream. And I know Sarah Lad doesn't drink, so I won't linger too long. But Old Fashioned is one of my favorites. Old Fashioned, the Manhattan, a Moscow Mule, White Russian. Depending on my mood, I'll usually go for one of those. I also really like sidecars. Sidecar is like actually, on topic, again, when you turn 21, Sour Lad, a sidecar is lemon. It's usually a cognac, lemon juice, and usually a kind of flavoring. Sometimes it's Cointreau, but it's a lemony flavored drink. And it's a bit on the sweet side, but not super sweet and sugary like a lemon drop. A lemon drop is essentially just like melted lemon candies is what it tastes like. It's very sweet. Sidecar is like a fancier, refined lemon drop. Let me look up the recipe. I don't want to misquote things. The orange liqueur is the Cointreau. I guess you could use triple sec too. So orange liqueur, lemon juice, and cognac. Cognac's a type of brandy. And yeah, it's an old drink, like the 20s old. And obviously old drinks and cocktails have kind of made a comeback in today's modern bars. Maybe you can blame the hipsters for that. But yeah, sidecar. That's a good one. But the place we went to a couple days ago was, they do like the regular ones, but they have their own unique drinks that they make there. It was pretty good. Nice truffle fries too, like black truffle French fries. That's another idea for something that I've kind of toyed with the concept of in execution and just haven't figured out a good way to really do it. And that's talking about food on stream. Like, I don't have the setup because I know it's come up before. I don't have the setup to do like a Raku in the kitchen type deal because I don't have like a lavalier mic and I don't have separate cameras to do like a multi-stream thing where I'm in the kitchen. But if you folks would find it interesting for me to talk about cooking and recipes, like sharing recipes that I learned in the kitchen or that I use regularly, and then breaking down how to make them in kind of like a format like this, or maybe with visual aids like a slideshow. I could consider doing something like that because, again, I don't have the setup to film. Plus, I have to deal with the whole like managing a model and managing everything else while not being on stream. That the logistics of doing that are pretty difficult because my VTuber stream setup is pretty much locked to my PC. But like a recipe sharing chill stream discussion where we talk about food and I share recipes, that's something we could do. In fact, if I make things and take pictures or something like that, then that could be visual aids. But keep that in mind. If you guys want a recipe sharing stream type format and that sounds interesting, then let me know, and then I could think about that because I got tons of recipes. I know how to cook a lot of different things. Starlight said top 10 things Raku likes to cook. It would have to be a longer list than that. Trying to get top 10 would be difficult. I think if I were to try and rattle off a list from just the top of my head, number one thing I like to cook would probably be Caesar salad. And I think I've mentioned that before, but I have a really good scratch Caesar salad recipe. And I like to do mine with Parmesan crusted or grilled chicken. But it's a scratch dressing from the ground up. None of that bottled, prepackaged, pre-made stuff. It's scratch Caesar dressing. Number two would probably be katsu. Either chicken or pork katsu. I've mentioned before that my favorite food in general is katsudon, which is like a slab of katsu chopped up over a bed of rice, and it's simmered with eggs, scrambled or beaten eggs, and a sweet savory sauce, and it's simmered on the stove and then put over a bed of rice. Katsudon. That's my favorite thing to eat, and because I figured I could do it better than some teriyaki restaurants, that's why I learned to make that. Aside from frying the katsu itself, it's not that hard. Let's see. Going further down the list. So, I know how to make Hawaiian food. I know how to make Japanese food. I know how to make Italian food. And then I have some American food. It kind of just depends. I can make anything from recipe, but like cold seasons, slow cooker chili with a ton of meat, sausage, and really spicy. Pastas. I don't have too much experience making scratch pasta, but pasta sauces. Like a red marinara from scratch, or a white Alfredo, like a roasted garlic Alfredo. Most of those things I learned when I worked in a kitchen. And so I don't know, maybe I should start putting together a list of recipes of things that I know. And then if we decide to do like a recipe sharing stream, then that's what I can read off. So in addition to just looking back across all the things we did in 2022, you folks come up with good ideas for content going forward. And I do want to not get into a rut with things here on Twitch. I'm always trying to come up with new ideas just to keep things interesting. I don't want to be bored. And so I appreciate the feedback that you folks always give me. And I guess in general, before we get ready to start wrapping up for the stream today, I just want to say thanks again to all the folks from the community. Again, I understand a lot of you came over from watching Wazi, and I have tried to express my gratitude and thanking her for just giving me the opportunity to be part of her community, for one, and two, having that grow to overlap and have you folks jump on and listen to the silliness that I do here on stream. And so it's definitely been one of the highlights in the last year or so since I've been doing content creation, is the idea of growing community and people who just like to hang out. And it's not, to me, it's not about money. It's not really about numbers either. It's always been sort of a quality over quantity type thing. And you folks give me the ability to make things that I want to make and share them with all of you. Crutcher says, yeah, Raku, if you ever do a stream, will you put on a curly mustache and a chef's hat on your VTuber like Chef Boyardee's? Absolutely. If we do like a recipe sharing stream, I'll find a way to put like a chef's hat on my model. I'm sure VTube Studio would have something like that. Sarlad says, Raku, I stayed because of you. I'm just glad that Wazzy introduced me to you. You're a good streamer. Oh, thanks, Sarlad. My main priorities are to keep things chill and drama free, and to just create an environment where people want to hang out. And if I've done that, then it means I've been successful. Crusher says, we stay because you produce quality content and are fun to talk to. Oh, well thank you, Crusher. I appreciate that. Once again, we called out Sarolad for his mod abilities. I know it's a lot of work to manage chats across different streams. And it's definitely appreciated. I may consider expanding the mod staff next year. I have to look at that a little bit, because right now there's only a couple people that have mod status. And I think it's Sarolad, Wazzy, and Matt, primarily for co-host streams and whatnot. And I don't know. Again, until stream chat gets really big, I'm not as worried about it, but I will consider that in the future. Sarlett said, even though I have zero knowledge about music, the Sunday music classes you have are fun to watch. Well, that's good. I really like doing the jam streams just because it's fun to talk about beatboxing. I'm not a music teacher. I'm not trained in any sort of music theory, but maybe that makes it easier to try and explain things in simple terms. I don't know. That's been one of the challenges, is just trying to explain things in a way that makes sense to people who might not have an extensive music background. You know, I could, but it's not going to be as accessible if I say, you know, here's how you set a key signature for a beatbox beat. And, you know, to me, that's not really interesting to hear. I could be wrong. I know we have some folks here that hang out that are musicians, and so I rely on them to make sure I'm not quoting my music terms wrong, because then I look like an idiot. Crusher says, yeah, I like learning from your beatbox streams. Well, that's good. And like I said before, bringing up questions about the beatboxing type stuff and techniques, whether it's on the jam streams or on other ones, anytime is fine. I have a mental note, Crusher, and the next jam stream is tomorrow. It's going to be in the afternoon tomorrow before I have to head off for New Year's Eve. But I have a mental note to talk about case snares. And if I forget and you're there tomorrow, make sure you remind me. Tomorrow's going to... I guess that's the last stream of 2022. But what time did I say? Did I say 1 or 2? 1 Pacific. As long as I don't oversleep or wake up 5 minutes before the stream. But, yeah. I know people always bring good questions. So I think tomorrow we'll be going through... sound updates, techniques, and whatever questions people want to explore. And then we'll be doing a BGM brainstorming session like we always do. And then that'll be the last jam stream of the year. And so I think with that we'll sort of wrap up the look back on 2022. Again, it's been a crazy year in general. It's been really busy, but it's been a fun ride, and I'm glad you folks decided to come along and go on that ride. And there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to in 2023, so there's a lot to look forward to and to check out. Before we wrap up, as usual, let me see who's live. Wazi's still live. She's doing art. Let's go and raid Wazi. I don't get the opportunity to do that very often, because we don't usually stream at the same time. Crutcher says, "Oh yeah, organ trance." Oh yeah, you did ask me about this one. This is a fun one from the Halloween pack. All right, so let me pause the BGM, even though we're vibing to the song, and we will get everything loaded, and we'll go raid the Toxicure stream, see what kind of horrific nightmare art Wazi and crew are creating. So let me get everything loaded, and we'll go to outro. Oh, and I see Crutcher's redeemed a last minute hydrate and stretch. That will do. Crutcher says, make sure you take care of your body. You got it. I will do my best. Alright, I think I got everything loaded, so let us go raid Wazi. See what's up. Thanks again for tuning in, folks, and I will see you folks tomorrow for the jam stream. So let's do it.